BakersGreenAcres.com is the website of Mark Baker, the farmer from Michigan who we've been talking to, who has been under intense pressure from the USDA. Now, don't let that confuse you, folks. The USDA, you think, oh, geez, they just stamp stuff in our meat departments and whatnot. No, the USDA is a rogue agency that will come in with their guns blazing, folks. They will come in with SWAT team-style initiatives. And that's something we're trying to prevent here. That's something we're trying to ring the alarm on. Mark Baker was telling us a little bit about the intel he received from somebody internally over there. Why don't you bring us back up to speed with that, and then we'll talk about what we can do as fellow patriots to help with your situation, and so on and so forth.
Okay. Well, the Sheriff's Department refused to do an investigation, so what I need people to do is to put pressure on my local county sheriff via email or just calling on the phone, and I have the phone number here, and just say, hey, why aren't you doing your job? And, they're going to give you a song and dance for sure. They always do. But bottom line is the county sheriff's job is to protect and defend our constitutional rights. That
Absolutely.
is what it's all about.
We are big proponents of the role of the sheriff. Absolutely.
Me too. So in our case, we have the Attorney General that has leveled a $700,000 fine against me and my family, which is, it's more than my farm is worth on a great day. Like 3 times more than a farm's worth. And if you get into the Constitution sometime, go to the 8th Amendment, and it clearly states that American citizens are free from excessive fines and cruel and unusual punishment. So here's our Attorney General, who's supposed to be the defender of our constitutional freedoms, that's breaking our constitutional freedoms, that's oppressing them. And then my county sheriff is standing by with his hands in his pockets, not doing anything. But a lot of phone calls to him will get him off his duff. At least it creates a paper trail because there will be emails to his office. And his office is the Missaukee County Sheriff's Department. And the man's name is Jim Boscher, Bosser. The phone number is 213-839-4338. They just put a lot of pressure on him to create a paper trail.
Okay, give me that. This is the sheriff, right?
Yeah, he's the county sheriff.
Okay, give me his number one more time here. I'm going to call. I know it's 11 o'clock here on the East Coast. I want to call right now and leave a voicemail for him and voice my concerns with this situation.
213-839-4338.
4338?
Yes.
Okay. Stay quiet for just a second, Mark. I'm going to call him right now, okay? I'm going to do this live on the air because I want to show people that I'm not just going to report on this. I'm actually interested in helping, and I encourage everybody else to do what I'm about to do. Here we go. Oh, geez, it didn't work for me. Let me try one more time. 213 839
4338.
Okay, 4338. Let's try it again. I'm not sure why it's not working for me. Mr. Producer, you want to try it for me? Can you do that? He's going to do it for me. Okay, so we'll get that. And we'll also take calls with Mark if you want to talk to him and ask him about his situation. And ask him about his farm as well, BakersGreenAcres.com.
Did I say 213? It's 231.
Okay, that's what we got wrong. 231. All right, now I can do it. All right, so 231.
How about that? 839.
Okay.
4338.
4338.
How about that?
See, that's why we did this.
Yeah, I know. That's good. That's good. I know my buddy Dave Robinson is listening right now. He's saying, "You idiot! You gave him the wrong number." There it is.
There we go.
Thank you for calling the Missaukee County Sheriff's Office. If this is an emergency, please hang up and dial 911. Please note that our menu options have changed. If you know your party's extension, you may press it at any time. For dispatch, press 1. For corrections, press 2. For records and civil process, press 3. For Tanya Trolls, press 4. For Lieutenant Andrea Martin, press 5. For Under Sheriff Will Yancer, press 6. For Sheriff Jim Bosher, press 8. For the operator, press...
We're going to talk to the sheriff. I just pressed 8.
Good evening, Sheriff's Office.
Hi, I'd like to leave a message for Sheriff Jim, if that's possible.
Sure, 1 second. Let me transfer you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, we should be transferred now.
Your call is being forwarded to a ShoreTel voicemail system.
Sheriff Jim Bosher
is not available. Please leave a message at the tone. When finished, you may hang up or press pound for additional options.
Sheriff Bosher, this is Bob Tuskin. I'm a nationally syndicated talk radio host and an activist for food freedom. We were talking with Mark Baker about his situation, and we are deeply concerned about this. It's the role of the sheriff as a constitutional authority to be a check in a system of checks and balances that we have. You're an oath keeper, and I expect you to stand up and continue to be obliged to that oath. It's important that you protect this man from the agency known as the USDA and any others that wish him ill. We really are paying attention to this case. We've done a lot of coverage on it on the air. Again, the entire country is watching, and we hope that you stand up with the integrity that hopefully your constituents thought you have or think you have, and that's the reason why I hope they voted you into office. Again, we're very concerned about Mark Baker's case, and we want for you to make a public announcement, a public statement about it as soon as possible, and to stand up to these other agencies because, again, your role as sheriff is a paramount one. Thank you very much, and you have a great day. All right, so there you go, Mark. There's my attempt to apply a little bit of pressure for whatever it's worth.
Awesome. That's great, Bob. Awesome.
So we'll see yeah. how that goes over. You know, he's going to say, "Who the hell's this guy?" You know.
Well, so. He won't. You know, it's surprising how pressure like that. You know, they would just as soon collect their paycheck and go home on Friday.
Yeah.
They don't want any pressure coming from outside the county that they can't control. So, you know, 10 or 15 calls like that a day really have a way of unnerving these guys. This guy is not an oath keeper, I will tell you that right now. He has ignored my wife and I's request for help several times.
Well, that's unfortunate, and I hope the listeners emulate exactly what I did. We're going to take calls with Mark in just a moment. 800-313-9443. 800-313-9443. If you want to learn more about his farm, visit bakersgreenacres.com. That's bakersgreenacres.com. And he's also got a lot of stuff that they're shipping all around the country now. If you're interested in grass-fed, high-quality, naturally raised chickens and all that good stuff that you might be feeding your families, support Mark and visit his website, bakersgreenacres.com. We'll be back with calls in just a second.
Each took complete control of the theater, the movies, the radio, every cultural activity and every channel of information. Well, times is tough, all right. Yeah, I'll say. It's the future.
All right, we'll take calls with Mark Baker from bakersgreenacres.com and the Baker Farm. It's important that we get the word out on this, folks. If his farm comes under attack, think about how many other farms will come under attack for some bureaucratic nuance in the law, and it's, well, a bunch of junk, bottom line. And unfortunately, when bureaucracy turns into threatening his life and the life of his family and his kids, we got a real serious issue. I pray that this does not turn into a Ruby Ridge situation. And that's why we're doing this show, and that's why we're telling the listeners about this, ringing the alarm. But those things happen. Those incidents happen. You know, we need to learn from those past events and get the word out. You know, back then when Randy Weaver was doing his thing in Idaho, the internet wasn't as powerful as a tool. So hopefully we're using this show and the internet to get the word out on this. And I hope you guys took what I did and emulate it yourselves. Call his sheriff. Call him up. Voice your opinion. Really is that easy. And hopefully it goes a long way. All right, your call's at 800-313-9443. Let's talk to Kathy in Utah. Hi, Kathy.
Hi there. You know, the other day I saw a big cattle truck, and it had on the back of it, no farms, no food. It seems like our farmers are under a great deal of pressure and stress nowadays with the laws and regulations and everything that's happening. I'm wondering if you could possibly get those pigs sold. Is it legal for you to sell them?
Well, I can't sell them in the state. You know, some of the things that they've asked me to do, I just ignored. But if I sell them in the state after I've been ordered not to, that will look bad.
Yeah. Are you allowed to transport them out of state?
Oh, yeah, I can sell them out of state. It's just that they've become kind of a hot potato, so nobody wants to pay for a pig that they could be, you know, tapped on the shoulder and say, hey, you got an illegal pig. So people are really reluctant. We used to do a really fantastic business with these pigs. Everybody wanted them, and they would be sold before they were even born. But now nobody really wants them unless they're processed and ready to go in the freezer, which is okay. But we've had to shift the way we do things.
Well, the laws, are they the same in all the states when it comes to your pigs?
No, just Michigan right now. Michigan's kind of a state that they use to test things out.
Well, maybe we could put the word out and find a buyer in a different state and get the pigs transported by April. And then you could use that money to buy pigs that they, you know, it's too bad. I'd rather actually see them defeated and have the definition changed, but...
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem, Kathy. What if he gives in and gets rid of these pigs? Yeah, that might be an option. And it'll be a hard one to actually accomplish. Nonetheless, what's to stop them from continuing this sort of bureaucracy in the future? I'm sure you've given that thought. Do you have an answer for her,
Sure.
Mark?
Yeah, well, if they tell me that you can't have this pig and then I comply and I go get another pig, what's to keep them from coming back 2 weeks later and saying, well, you can't have that one either? And
well, where did you get the pigs in the first place?
These ones were shipped over by a guy named Heath Putnam. They were shipped into Iowa. And then I made a deal with him, and I bought some breeding stock from him.
So you have had them for about 3 years, just breeding them?
No, I've had them for 6 years.
6 years. And so since you grow them organically, you don't have them penned up and you're not feeding them mush and stuff, that's why they consider them feral then?
No, they consider them feral because they came out with a list of characteristics, and they said that if your pig has even one of those characteristics, then your pig is feral. And I guess I should tell you, you can find that list at Michigan DNR.gov, and then look under feral pigs, and you'll see they call it the declaratory ruling. And on page 3 is where they begin the list of characteristics. And I told you a few of them, but I'll tell you the 9th characteristic states characteristics not currently known to the Michigan Department of Natural Resources. So they really covered their bases in saying
it's very open then for them.
Oh yeah. It almost seems like a joke. Most people that see it think it's a mistake. And we did too at first. We thought it was just, there's a misunderstanding here. But no, there's no misunderstanding. This is an effort to get family farms closed down, get family farmers off the land so it can be turned over to industrial ag.
Especially ones that maybe fit your profile, just like the IRS did with the Tea Party or conservative groups where they targeted them.
Yeah.
And maybe they consider you too conservative or that you support the Oath Keepers or whatever. Well, I'll call the sheriff tomorrow. So he's not working right now?
No, I doubt it. It's late.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's there normal business hours, Kathy. But,
okay.
I wanted to leave a message and be an example on the air.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I hope we can help you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Kathy.
Kathy.
For your concern.
Appreciate it. Let's talk to Art now. Hello, Art.
Hey, guys. Hey, Mark, I talked to you about a year ago. I guess you were on another broadcast. Let's look at this for what it really is. You don't vaccinate your hogs. You're not feeding them all this GMO garbage feed. And when it comes right down to it, the real issue here is they feel that you are a threat to the factory farm industry, and that's exactly why they've come up with this scam.
Mark, is that the case? Is that what it comes down to, Mark?
That's part of it. The industrial ag, the hog community, they're willing accomplices in this, but they're not the ones that are driving it. This is actually a much bigger and more nefarious outfit than that. Some people call it Agenda 21, and I would agree that this is an effort to get people off the land. What they're doing now is getting family farmers to give up their property, and then it's absorbed into the industrial ag or the corporate agriculture system. And then from there, those farms can be closed very quickly because they're watching their bottom line real close. Not like family farms. We just don't go out to eat as much, if things get tough. Or we don't use quite as much diesel fuel. But the factory farms, they're watching their bottom line really close.
Well, that's what I was getting at. People like you, the family farmer, are a major threat to the factory farm. And, while you can have people like Mary Ansel Rothschild and the big bankers say, give me control over a nation's money and I care not who makes the law, that doesn't give them ultimate power. If you want ultimate power over the people, you must control the food. So the independent family farm is a major threat to that control power structure. And that's what they're really after.
Absolutely. All right, we got to take a break, and we will come back in just a second. It's the Bob Tuscan Show.
The Bob Show.
Steve, you brought up a few good points during the break. Go ahead.
It's a constitutional issue as well because your civil liberties are being threatened here. Let's just say the pigs were really dangerous, which they're not. Let's say they're not desirable for food, which they're not. They're good pigs. But the issue is still a civil liberty situation, even if it was a crime. So the definition comes from Article 1, Section 9, where it says, no bill of attainder or ex post facto law shall be passed. An ex post facto law generally, what that means is after the fact, generally refers to laws or other mandates that are passed to restrict behavior that was, when practiced, entirely legal. So let's imagine, for example, that your local town has a littering problem. Littering is entirely legal in that town for that period of time, but then a law is written to ban littering, and lawmakers want to catch perpetuators who have already been littering, so they make the law effective as of 5 years ago. This would be an ex post facto law. So an ex post facto laws are generally frowned upon because it's possible to write ex post facto laws going way back. There's no way of knowing whether one's actions are legal or illegal. That's Article 1 of the U.S. Constitution, which prohibits the passage of ex post facto laws, probably for this very reason. And no bill of attainder would apply to that as well, because this is a situation here, Mark, where they're trying to confiscate property or fine you for something that was legal when you started it without, any due process, without any compensation for your hard work and efforts, which is what I believe they're required to do. So it's a violation of your civil liberties, and that's from About.com, and you can find that in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution, and read up on that for yourself if you like. So,
okay.
I think it's a violation of your constitutional rights as well, because they're trying to pass a law after the fact, and there's been no intent to compensate you. Would you be willing to take compensation if it was justified? Do you think maybe, I don't know that I'm trying to side with the state or anything, but the idea here in my thinking is, if they're going to pass this law and it wasn't defined, and I don't think your animals are at all dangerous, and their whole case against you sounds bogus as it can be, probably, as we pointed out in the last break, because you're doing good work and they're trying to put farmers like you out of business. But still, simply, there's been no attempt, in my opinion anyway, from the state of Michigan to try to resolve this peacefully and reasonably.
Well, we've tried to talk with them. We've contacted them and said, let's sit down with this. I mean, obviously there's some sort of misunderstanding, and they've told us that the only way that they're going to deal with us is if we don't depopulate our animals, or they say, if you depopulate your animals and you promise not to do this business anymore, then we won't give you a big fine, and we won't arrest you, and we won't arrest your children. So they don't want to talk. They don't want to.
Yeah, right. Now, I think they're clearly in violation of your constitutional rights and civil liberties, and you can make a case out of that, I think, that they either should be forced to compensate you very well for the cost of your animals before they come in to do that by passing laws after the fact. It's ex post facto. Yeah. It's exactly what it is. And so if they want to change things, then they need to look at the consequences of passing stupid laws, don't they? Well, that's what's wrong with our government. Yeah.
Here's the problem. The Department of Natural Resources is a regulatory agency. That's it. Their job is not to make law. They can advise lawmakers on, hey, this is what we need. This is the problem we're having out in the woods, for instance, and we'd appreciate a law that says this. Then some legislator puts forth a bill. The bill has to go through the House, has to go through and get a signature from the governor, and a lot of scrutiny. But the DNR has come out and they've just declared my pigs illegal, and they don't have the authority to do that. But we have a governor that's complicit. We have an attorney general that's complicit. They're the guys that should be taking these guys by the collar and giving them a jab slap and telling them, look, you can't do this. This is a representative republic, and the laws are made at the legislative level, not at the regulatory level.
I see. So this isn't actually a Michigan state law then. Is that what you're saying?
Well, it is, because this is what happened. There's what's called the Invasive Species Order, which is good law. And the Invasive Species Order is in place to protect the Great Lakes against foreign flag vessels that come in through the seaway. And, they would love to come in heavy with their ballast tanks full and then blow their tanks in the Great Lakes and then take on cargo and then head back out the seaway. But we can't have them doing that because they're going to bring all kinds of seaborne creatures into the Great Lakes, and that can become a problem, like lamprey eels and certain types of snails and things like that, and even certain types of fish that could propagate in the lakes. So the Invasive Species Order gives the powers that be, whether it's the Department of Natural Resources or the Coast Guard, the authority to board these vessels without a warrant. They have the authority to do that. And the DNR has the authority to add other species to the Invasive Species Order. Through scientific methods, they determine that, the emerald ash borer is an invasive species, so they can add it to the order. But it was clearly intended for maritime. So by them adding a farm animal to the Invasive Species Order, it's just something that, no one ever thought anyone would do. It would be, what if they added, say, Irish people to the Invasive Species Order? That would be a bad thing for Irish people. You wouldn't think that they could do that, but in this case, they've done something like, I don't want to compare Irish people with pigs, but they added pigs to the Invasive Species Order, but then they tried to narrow down the species by saying, well, only pigs with straight tails or curly tails, or only pigs with a floppy ear and erect ear. And they tried to make it as nebulous as they could. I think most of your listeners would agree, if they know anything about the Hegelian principle or the Hegelian dialect, that this is classic. The DNR has come out with a problem, feral swine, destroying the state, killing children, destroying the environment, and then they come out with the solution. Okay, let's get all these pigs off of family farms. That's the solution. And people buy it. But the problem is, if a regulatory agency like the DNR can decide that they don't like something that you, as a freedom-loving American citizen, are doing, and make a declaration that it is going to be illegal for you to own, say, goldfish come April 1st of 2014, then where does that end? They can do whatever they want to do in that case. They can outlaw any of your private property that they want. And that's the problem. We don't want them outlawing our internet or our implements that we use. We don't want them outlawing our firearms or anything that we hold dear. So that's why we can't allow this to go.
Agreed. Folks, you've been listening to Mark Baker here on the Bob Tuskin Show. His website, bakersgreenacres.com. The pigs do all right in the cold weather? Geez, I'm sure it's freezing up there.
Yeah, it is. It's been down to 25 below. And I've got a bunch of sows out on my east field, and they have housing out there, but they choose to just pack into a snowbank and huddle up, and they're okay. Our pigs are real furry.
Yeah, awesome. Sheep. And you have chickens, you have pigs, you have cows as well, right?
Yeah, I have beef cows, and then we milk a few cows, too.
I hope you don't drink that raw milk stuff, Mark. You'll be a real terrorist.
That stuff's a killer.
I know. Good stuff. Check it out, folks. You can help him out. Visit his website. Call the sheriff, like we were telling you before. bakersgreenacres.com. Mark, you'll have to come back on and give us an update in a few weeks.
Love to do that, Bob. I'll keep your number handy.
All right, thanks, brother. Thanks so much.
All
Best
right.
of luck, and I hope my listeners help to be a tipping point in this case.